Jenny Lester is a New York-based filmmaker, writer, director, and actor. She is the co-founder of Shallow Graves Productions, where she develops independent film, television, and theater projects. She wrote, produced, and starred in her 2021 feature, What She Said. Jenny's directing work spans film, television, and theater, including projects developed with institutions such as Sundance Labs and various independent theater companies. Jenny is the director of the new film, Our Bodies and Other Shames. Alysia Reiner is an actress and producer and is best known as Fig on 7 seasons of Orange is the New Black, for which she won a SAG Award. She also originated the role of Ancient Deaver in Miss Marvel. Alicia has starred in many TV shows, including Better Things, The Deuce, Shining Vale, and The Diplomat, as well as many other recurring roles. She has been in countless theater productions, having won the prestigious Critics' Choice Award at the Edinburgh Festival. Alicia has had roles in 50 films, including Our Bodies and Other Shames. As a producer, she conceived of, developed, produced, and starred in the feature film Equity. She serves on the boards of the Gina Davis Institute for Gender Equality, the Earth Day Initiative, and Air Protein. Alicia has received many awards, including New York's Made in New York Award from the Mayor's Office. Malka Wallick is an actor, writer, and the founder of Girl Gang Productions. Our Bodies and Other Shames is their debut feature film. The Our Bodies script was the recipient of the 2025 Screencraft Film Fund, the Cine Stories Underrepresented Stories Scholarship, and a finalist for the Sundance Development Lab. Malka is a 25-26 JWI Screenwriting Fellow and an active member of the She Collective Writers Cohort. On stage, Malka has performed around the country and internationally. Also joining us today is Moment Editor Sarah Breger. Please welcome Jenny Lester, Alysia Reiner, Malka Wallick, and Sarah Breger.
Malka, Alicia, Jenny, thank you guys all for joining me today to talk about your new film, Our Bodies and Other Shames. The film centers around three friends who grew up in the Orthodox community as they navigate girlhood, loss, forgiveness, and kind of just the growing up, basically. Malka, you wrote and starred in the film. I'm curious where the idea of this story originated.
Yeah. So I always say that I joke and then Jenny says it's not a joke, that's just what this is that it's it's narrative fiction but emotional truth. I think growing up in the modern Orthodox community and not being somebody who necessarily fit into the ideal sort of confines of that community, I had a lot of questions about what it meant to be a girl, femme presenting, AFAB, queer, coming from that community, and how to reconcile all of that together. And I think the inception of the idea came, I was given like a prompt of and then a couple of actors write a short thing. And I wrote these girls who were friends that mirrored and mimicked the people that I had grown up with, and the sort of, how do I want to phrase this? Sort of people trying to live up to ideals that were put upon them as opposed to organic. And what does it mean, that like push and pull of, is this who I really am? And I thought that when I was writing the feature, it was going to be a lot angrier. I think coming from that world, there's a lot of rejection before you can find acceptance for yourself within it. And as I was writing it, I began to fall more and more in love, not just with the girls that I was writing, but with the community that I was writing in. And it really brought me home to my Judaism, to my faith, but on my own terms and in the terms of like space and through the lens of these girls. That's like a very long-winded answer, but
No, that's beautiful. Alicia, I'm curious what drew you to the film.
Oh my goodness. I think the number one thing is the beautiful magical realism of it. I had never encountered a film that really captured what it feels like to be anywhere from 7 to 25 in such a beautiful, authentic, but also creative way. And I, as an adult woman, think often about what would little Alicia say, or how would little Alicia experience this? And the more the older I get, the more I'm trying to actually take really good care of little Alysia, who had a rough time during those years. And so I fell madly in love with that storytelling. And then there's so many like deeply impactful stories of friendship, of forgiveness, of like family and chosen family, obviously abortion and cancer. Like the film packs a punch, and I'm so proud to be part of it.
Right. It packs a lot in, even though there's really three characters,
Yeah,
plus the three child characters too, which it's a later question, but they were so good. I don't know how you found them. They were so good.
so good.
Um, Jenny, this is your debut feature film, and I'm glad Alysia mentioned magical realism because I was wondering if that was tricky to navigate. It wasn't just a linear movie.
Yeah.
There was all different timelines were sort of happening and jumping
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. Well, I have a habit of like biting off the hardest thing first. It honestly, it was the script like so beautiful in there, all the magical realism, all of the um, poetic action. And, the thing that made me cry when I read it and the thing that was so beautiful to me was in the writing when, Malka says a few times in there, it says they're themselves, but not, it is all times, which was like the thing that drew me to it because that is how you feel when you grew up with girls and you're still friends with them and you're still 14 and you're still 17 and you're still 22, even if you're in your 30s, with your girlfriends. But then, of course, when it came time to shooting it, my DP was like, so what time of day is all times exactly? Which was like, I was like, oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the practicalities of that was like very difficult, but I think a lot of prep on the front end and wanting to do everything practically and wanting things to feel authentic as they came out of the script and not like rely on VFX or other things. That was really the main thing.
Part of the magic of the film is that it's both so specific. It's set in this kind of modern Orthodox community in Flatbush, and it's also so universal because it's about friendship and loss and forgiveness and all these things. How did you guys work on balancing the, specific versus the universal?
Can I also just say on that and on your last question, I think when Alysia was like, it's abortion, it's cancer, it's all these things, it's like to hear them listed out like that kind of makes you go like, ah, that's like a lot of stuff for a film or a project. But when you're reading it, when you're watching it, like it's just life. Like it's not, oh, we're hitting you over the head with these like heavy-handed topics. It's just like those are the things that come up in life. Those are the things that come up in friendship. So I think it is universal in that way. So it's kind of like a two-pronged answer. But yeah, I just think those are the conversations that we have as women. That's what we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I think for me, the more specific we were to the world I was writing, the easier it was for us to maintain the universality. I think growing up, I had never really seen Judaism as I had known it portrayed on screen. And as somebody who like is growing up in a world where like that's all in some way the all you know, you're like, wait, what? That's not that what? Huh? Why is that like? And so for me, it was like if if we can make sure that anybody growing up in the modern Orthodox world watching this film goes, oh, wait a minute, that is actually how we do that, or that is my experience of living in the world in this like awkward bubble that's also in the most culturally diverse city in the world. Like, how do you straddle that line? And I think that that line, that straddling, is what makes it so easy to be universal, is because really we might not interact with people in those communities on a day-to-day basis, but they are interacting with us on a day-to-day basis. And we might not recognize them on the subway because there might be a baseball cap over their yarmulkes, and some of the women might be wearing pants, but they're so interwoven into the fabric of New York. And I think that the more specific we were, the more universal. And to Jenny's point, like girlhood is the most universal thing in the world, I think. I think no matter who you grow up to be as an adult, people who have been raised and socialized as girls have a shared experience. We have a shared language. We have a shared magic. And I think that's part of what made it so delicate and yet so easy in many ways to navigate. Excuse me.
I think too, like I grew up in Reform Judaism and like what I like to call showbiz Judaism. That's like my, version. And so like I recognize myself in things like Transparent and like these other wonderful portrayals of Reform Jewish life, especially in LA versus New York, where I grew up. And you see like the very voyeuristic, unorthodox and like really, really sort of traumatic portrayals of the super Hasidic community. I had never seen modern Orthodoxy, but like I have cousins who are modern Orthodox. I have friends who are, like, and I was like, wait, there's never been a slice, as far as I know. Like I've never seen a mikvah on screen, So like that was also such a joy to be able to jump in and portray the specificity of the modern Orthodox community.
How did you guys kind of make sure that the modern Orthodox parts were correct, and also that they didn't fall into caricature, which I think is kind of easy to do when you have to describe something in a way.
I mean, I think a lot of it, I hope, was on the page. I think my descriptions of the world were maybe for most scripts a little overwritten, just to be on the safe side. But also, we hired, in addition to my experience, we hired this incredible woman, Leah Gottfried. She made Soon by You, and we hired her as a cultural consultant. And even though she's part of a world that's maybe slightly more orthodoxy, it's not. We had her as like a touchstone to make sure that we were never veering too far away. She was there on the day that we shot the tefillin. She was at the mikvah. She was always there to answer questions and to make sure that we were sort of grounded in the world. Um, and everybody asked really smart questions. Like our entire team, our crew, if they ever were unsure about something, they would come to myself or Jenny or Leah and ask. And I think that kind of like communication around it was like amazing and just present.
And there's stuff too that we wouldn't have thought about necessarily. Like there's a scene where the girls are like bored on Shabbos, like Saturday morning, and they have a bunch of like fortune tellers and mash like games laying on the floor. And Leia was like, I was gonna have one of them making one, and she's like, no, you can't. They couldn't write. And I was like, oh, just stuff that like is not within my body, so it would have slipped by. So that was really amazing to have her there.
I love the boredom scenes because they really, like they take you back that, being a kid, being bored, being with your friends, kind of like, and then you
And
sort of
Oh,
do all these things. Yeah.
I'll also say it's my deepest hope that we allow ourselves to get bored again, in this moment of AI and social media and I get deeply sad when I see a group of girls on their phones together.
Oh, I know.
It
yeah.
makes
Oh,
me like truly sad. My daughter's 17 and I can't think of a time. She and her friends do homework together, which is, on a screen a lot of the time, but most of the time when they're together, they're making things together or laughing together or eating together or adventuring together, similar to the girls in this film. And I, you know, we were just at the Bentonville Film Festival, which is all about representation matters. And this film has so many deeply representative moments about so many different things, including the willingness to get bored together and the exhale and the like, what are you like when you're not performing, quote unquote, at all, when you're just your most authentic self with your bestie?
ugh, I love that so much. And I just want to say something off of that is like, I think about that time in my life. I remember like being 12 and we would try to like stay up, like, during Shabbos nap time. Like my parents are asleep in one room. And I'd be like, no, I have to stay awake because if my friend comes, they're going to knock on the door. They can't ring the doorbell. If I fall asleep, my bedroom's in the attic, I'm not going to hear it. And it would create this sort of like internal creativity of like, how am I going to occupy myself? Am I going to read? Am I going to tell myself like, all of mine just involves storytelling, but then it like erupted from there to like, when we were together, we would do the strangest things to kill time. We would like find floorboards and pretend that things were buried underneath it. We would have a magic tree that we would like meet at, but obviously we were not actually meeting at the same time. We were like talking how far the other person was and then like magically arriving at the same time. And I think about the magic of that kind of creativity and how important that was in making me the artist that I am today, but also the human that I am today. And how I like Alysia was saying, like, I long for people to go back to that part of their brain, to that part of their soul. Because I think I don't know, I think it's so important. So I don't know, maybe we need to bring back Shabbos. I like the
Well,
non-Orthodox
a lot
world.
of non-Jews, or talk about a digital Sabbath or a digital whatever
Yeah.
detox, and I think we Jews have been talking about this for, before there was even the internet.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really, really good for our souls, for our creativity, for all the things.
We used to like in high school, and when I think about my most profound like moments of girlhood and friendship, we would call it overstaying our welcome, where we would go get like the smallest like frozen yogurt that we could like afford with like $4 or whatever, and then we'd sit there for like 9 hours just chatting and being bored. And so we'd be like, "Do you want to go overstay our welcome today?" Like we would do that all the time. But that was like pinnacle girlhood, high school for me.
So good.
So good.
But when you were filming this, were you guys reaching out to your childhood friends? Because when I finished, I texted my two best friends from childhood. Like,
Oh.
I have to see you guys. It's been too long.
That's so beautiful. That's actually, you say that, and I'm like, oh, we should talk to our distributors about a campaign like that. Do you know what I mean?
Talk to
Like
your
Yeah.
friends.
bring your girlfriends, like reconnect with your friends and watch the movie, like do watch parties, go see it
I love
together.
that.
And I think there's also, next Mother's Day, there's also a mother-daughter thing about, not just my child, but my other mother,
Mother.
and how, what mothering looks like and really digging into that.
It's also
Mm.
been like a joy. I mean, it's been a joy in my career, in my life, to like bring my friends along with me. And like one of my best friends was the wardrobe designer, and one of my other best friends was the editor. So like, and those are my college girls. But like, it's just been a dream to like bring people along and continue to work with them in the same way. Like my best childhood friend, we would like make so many plays in my backyard. We would do it all the time, and she's now like a full director and was just nominated for a drama desk. And like the fact that we still can continue and sort of find each other in the storytelling in the same way that we used to is like also such a joy.
But I will say that when a couple people have said after they watched the film that it inspired them to reach out to their like high school and middle school friends. And I finally sent the link to one of my like long term, we always joke, I was their first friend, but they were my second friend, because we were a trio, and it was just because I was older. And before they even finished watching the film, they texted me halfway through to be like, we need to have a sleepover. When was the last time we had a sleepover? Your parents are going to sell the house. We need to have a sleepover. And I was like, yeah, and life happens and chaos happens. And we never got the final sleepover in my parents' house. But the fact that that's what the film made them like instinctually want to do, if that's like everybody's response to the film, I'm good. That's all we need. Reconnect with your besties.
Yeah. Especially as we hear so much about, this loneliness epidemic in this moment.
Totally.
Mm.
I also like I prefer a like what the hell is wrong with you reaction to the film. That's what I like when people have been crying through the whole thing. But one of those things, my sister saw it, and we have an amazing Truesdale song, which is an up and coming amazing like pop group. But like we grew up with one of the gals in it, and like her dad and my mom went to high school together. So like just having that too, and like bringing just as many girls with us in any capacity has been amazing. Like, and if we can continue to just like bring girls, bring girls, bring girls, I'm so happy.
You had mentioned this earlier, but the film touches on a lot of what we call women's health issues, abortion, infertility, breast cancer. Why was it important to sort of talk about these things in the film?
I think for me, they are cool. I was always, so I'm going to touch on them sort of one by one. But for me, they're all things that impact like specifically Jewish femme bodies. Um, I was always sort of fascinated with this idea that there's like a genetic mutation that makes Jewish women more inclined to breast cancer than other groups of women. And we're not the only group to have this genetic mutation, but it's prevalent. It's so prevalent, people test, and it's already so hard in our bodies. And we straighten our hair to assimilate like all the ways in which our bodies are not quite fitting into the box of how our American assimilation has told us that they should, has always been something that I've been frustrated with and, you know, on my own journeys with. And, I don't have the BRCA gene in my family, but my father's mother passed away in her early mid 40s from ovarian cancer, and I never met her. I'm named for her. But I was always so angry that I was robbed of this relationship with this incredible woman because of something her body did to her. And in a world where we're constantly talking about bodily autonomy, the fact that this is not in our control. This is not some oppressive patriarchal force. This is literally just our bodies. And I wanted to sort of explore how we come to terms with the things we can't control. And then for abortion, it is more about that patriarchal structure. I'll never forget. So I was in 10th grade Talmud class at Yeshiva Flatbush, and we were talking with the rabbi about, I can't remember how we got onto the topic of abortion to begin with, but somehow we got to talking about abortion. And essentially he said that the halacha says that the woman's life comes before anything else, right? And that includes her mental health, right? So basically, if a woman needs to get an abortion, halachically, we're good. I'm sure there's like a bunch of rabbis who will watch this and be like, actually, and that's exactly how Judaism should work. But I was fascinated by that. This idea that like our assimilation, and back to that word today, I guess it's the word of the day for me, has like also impacted how our laws, like our internal halachic laws, because I think our anti-abortion perspectives are not actually from our own texts. They have been like put upon and adopted and adapted. And I also thought that it's really kind of funny that like the premarital sex is the issue and not the abortion in a world where abortion is so on the forefront of problems and issues and like and also I just wanted to show an abortion story that wasn't about like the trauma of the procedure, that like there was no conflict about whether or not this was going to happen. There was no conflict about whether or not it was the right choice. The conflict came from like needing community in that moment and not having it. And that's like not a political statement. That's like a social statement, I guess. And I know people in my extended friend group who have had issues in each of these things. So like it's a lot to pack into three friends. And yet also I'm like, I have three friends, cancer, abortion, assault. And I think most women do have could name one friend in each group at least. Um, Sorry, that was again a very long
No,
answer.
that was amazing. And I also wanted to say on the topic of our bodies, like our Jewish bodies, that includes like our Jewish faces. And I've been like very obsessive for years about like Jew face and representation in that way. And like growing up, growing up, like watching Friends, for example, you're like, okay, Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston get to play the Jewish characters, and we're relegated to Janice. Like that was like so huge for me to be like, if I'm just because I'm an actress too, and I'm like, if I'm going to be an actress, I'm relegated to those side characters, unless it's a Jewish story, which usually is about trauma or war. So it's like one of the two. So in this, I was like so obsessive about using all actually Jewish actresses, and I think we have 9 in total. Is that right? Something like that. And it's so important to me to be talking about these issues that affect all women, but also the specific ones like Braca that affect Jewish women, and to have actually Jewish actresses in those roles. It was important like healing for me, as well as I wanted that representation out in the world.
Yeah, I really felt like the casting was so good. I really felt like I could see all these girls, like people I went to school with, people I went to camp with. Like I sort of saw it through all different stages. It felt like it felt very accurate. And even the mother character, which I think, could have sort of been like a big bad type character, but you kind of saw this like you had empathy for her too. I don't know, I sort of saw what she was going through also.
Thank you. You know, the goal, I've played a lot of villains. And the goal is always how do you make them real and three-dimensional, not just one or two-dimensional. Ideally, they're 10-dimensional because that's what we all are, right?
I think for me, it was really important that Aviva be empathetic and that she's not like a villain. She's a complicated woman, and I think Alysia was so fucking brilliant in it. And but I think for me, when I'm watching that shot, it's the it's that Dolly pull away that Jenny and Alexa did, where we see her and we see this moment, and Alysia so brilliantly is like her hand is on the doorknob and on the photo, and then ultimately the Tehillim wins, and she goes back to the thing that comforts her and to the thing that grounds her. And it's not because she's evil and doesn't want to, it's because she can't. It's because she's scared. It's because
Yeah.
there's something. And I think like Alicia's performance in that moment and the way that Jenny and Alexa handled that shot, just like, and like, it's just so magnificent. And every time I see it, I'm like,
Yeah, I
so good.
think too, something I've never said maybe out loud, but something that like was so amazing to me about your performance, Alicia. Now it's just like Alicia Power Hour. But like because we have all of these like physical manifestations of the different ages of these girls throughout, and Aviva doesn't get that in the film. We don't see
Mhm.
Aviva's younger self. And yet there were moments that popped out where Alicia was playing her so vulnerable and childlike, begging for her daughter to
Yeah.
stay. Spoiler alert. That
Yeah.
I just was like, there were certain moments, and when she's like, "Call me before Shabbos," and she just looks so small on the stairs, it was like we got all of that. We got her inner child too in those moments because of the performance. So that was like an especially
I
wonderful thing.
think,
100%.
when you're fortunate enough to work with great writing that, like one of the like great to me, one of the things about great writing is it says volumes in one line. So, for example, in the scene where I want her to dress up for Purim with me, and it's like one line, but I I say something to the effect of like, I would have loved it if my mother wanted to dress up with me. And it speaks volumes about who she is, her relationship with her mother, her relationship with her child, what she, how we all try and fix our past by sometimes being helpful with our children and sometimes being incredibly unhelpful with our children. So I just found that, so powerful. And Jenny was just extraordinary as a partner in that scene of how do we story tell and tell so much of a relationship in a very small space. And I think, you guys achieved that masterfully.
I like this. This is all like sort of a compliment, compliment fest. It's so
You can
nice.
tell we like each
Very
other.
refreshing. Yeah, it's very refreshing to see how much you guys like each other.
Oh no, who are you having on the podcast? Like
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
In terms of releasing the film, what was it like to release a, Jewish film today? I don't know if there would be some hesitation in releasing a Jewish film, or maybe people are really interested. I just don't know what the atmosphere is like.
I will say that I think when I was first sort of starting the process of raising funds and trying to get it made, without saying too much, I will say that it was like, I think it's hard in general right now to make indie film. I think it was a little harder for Jewish filmmakers. And I think there's like a lot of hesitation in the making of it and maybe in who wants to program it. But the reception from audiences who are not Jewish who have seen it have been tremendous. And so I think Bentonville was a real testament to the importance of putting work like this out there, even if it's harder, even if you maybe don't get into the exact blah, 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 like find the audience and the audience will find you.
I love that. And I'll also say, one of the important things to me about this movie is it is about obviously a lot of deep and heavy things, but it's also about Jewish joy. And I am very much leaning into Jewish joy stories right now. It is a really hard time to be a Jew. There's so much anti-Semitism, and I don't think we can talk about being Jewish without naming that in the room. Like it's the elephant in every Jewish room, no matter what you believe, whether you're a Zionist or anti-Zionist, whether, like whatever you believe about Israel. And it is really challenging to be a Jew right now. And the more we can story tell about things that aren't necessarily about the war and aren't necessarily about Israel, but to talk about the Jewish American experience, I think is really, really important in this moment.
So I know we're running out of time. I just have one last question. Did do you guys think about kind of where your characters are now, or what the next step would be, or once you close the book, you close the book?
Oh, good question. TV series?
I mean, I, as the writer, like, and this was adapted from a TV pilot, there's so much in my head about who these girls are and where they're going and who Aviva is and what her trajectory in like the next 5 years is going to be like. Whether we get to tell that story or
I
not.
want to know. I want to do that movie. I want to do that TV series.
I think you would really like it. I think that it's all about growth and about connection and how those connections allow you to change. I think we're all so scared. I think especially when you're on that precipice of like, am I an adult? There's such a fear of changing. And when you've like created a persona for yourself that has like helped you survive, whether it's Aviva's faith or Sheva's like full rejection, one night standing of it all, like those personas protect you. And and to break them down is really hard. And I think it's all about the connection of the friendships and like really listening to the people that you're sharing space with that help those changes happen. And they do happen, but I'm not going to tell you how.
Well, thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you.
coming and
Thank
talking.
you.
Thank you for having us. This has been great.
And I
So
really
fun.
recommend, hopefully everyone who's watching will be able to see your film soon.
Thank you.